Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Prep Rally, the Daily Journal's high school sports podcast / webcast, produced by the Daily Journal and djournal.com. I'm Brad Locke, along with Gene Phelps, senior writer for the Journal. Gene, how's it going?
Going well. Basketball's getting hot and heavy, heading toward the preseason.
Yeah.
The postseason.
Yeah. We got a lot of big games to talk about. Just by the way, if you're watching this but want to listen to the podcast, again, it's a podcast and a webcast. You can listen on iTunes or in your podcast app or at preprally.djournal.com. And if you're listening and want to watch, go to djournal.com. You can watch the replay of this if you missed it. So, Gene, we got a lot to talk about, like you said. Yesterday was Tuesday, so we had a lot of big basketball games, a lot of big division games. One of them was Corinth and Pontotoc boys. That game played at Pontotoc, and Corinth came away with a win, 58-55. Corinth has won 18 in a row, 8-0 in Division I 4A. It's I don't know who's going to stop this Corinth train, Gene.
I don't know. We've got them ranked number 2 in our rankings, and only behind Tupelo. They may leapfrog Tupelo now that Tupelo lost last night on the road at Hernando. I think you're going to have a burp every now and then, even good teams.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time on all levels. But, this Corinth club, really good, really talented, and they can just keep winning. Something to be said, when you keep winning, you must have it together.
Yeah, Xavier Strickland had some big three-pointers for Corinth. He ended up with 16 points. And Terrace Gwynn also had 16 points for Corinth. Again, they're 8-0 in division play, 18 straight wins. So Corinth looking to do big things this season. Another big boys game last night. This was a Division 4-2A matchup. A lot of people have been anticipating this matchup. Calhoun City and Okolona, and it was a barn burner. Calhoun City pulled out the win 86-84. I wish I could have been there to see that one.
I do too. I had a previous engagement on the story I'm working on, so I was at another game last night, one that we didn't staff, but something I was working on. But yes, these two teams have been on our radar all season, and we'll see them again. And I think that'll probably these two teams will be playing from possibly 1 and 2 to go to state in seedings.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about one of the Calhoun City players that had a big game a little bit later on. But Calhoun City with the win, improving to 5-0 in Division 4-2A. That division race certainly far from over. Okolona going to be a factor, I would imagine. A game you covered Monday was there was a tournament down in Clinton, Martin Luther King tournament. What was the name of the tournament?
It's Rumble in the South.
Rumble in the South.
It's a Martin Luther King Day tournament every year, and it's usually teams from Mississippi, and they just try to they were evenly matched. I don't have all the scores from all the games in front of him, but I believe the biggest difference in a game was like 5 points.
Yeah, and Oxford went and played Murrah out of Jackson and lost a close one by like 6 points.
They did. The Jackson basketball's always been solid in previous years with Provine, Lanier, and they're still solid down there. It's a different league, and Murrah's got a really guard-laden team. They're very talented. They're super quick. It was a great game. I think Oxford, even though we have them ranked 10th and they have 6 losses, I still think Oxford's probably, in my opinion, one of the top 3 or 4 boys teams in Northeast Mississippi.
Yeah. I mean, they're a 5A school. Murrah is a 6A, aren't they?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so that's to hang with a school like Murrah. I think that speaks well to your team.
Oh, it does. And it speaks well because 5A basketball is really tough too.
Yeah.
And so if you can hang with one of the top 10, top 15 6A teams in the state like they did. And if they could have made some shots, you've got Jarkel Joyner playing guard, and he's averaging 26, 27 a game.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf's back. Of course, everybody knows about the Ole Miss commit at wide receiver. He's 6'5", just a marvelous athlete, as we all know. And Coach Tyler said, we know he's a football player. We know he'll be playing in the SEC at wide receiver one day, but he loves basketball, and they love having him there. I mean, the guy almost had a triple-double the other night.
Yeah, you had a good story on him about DK just kind of, being this big 4-star, 5-star recruit in football. he's just doing whatever's needed for basketball. He's not, he's not afraid to go out there and do what.
Well, he gives
done.
them, Oxford's got some big guys inside anyway. They've got 3 good big men that can play inside, and they've got some guard play. They maybe need to shore up a little bit to help out with Jarkel. But I think this Oxford team can go far. I'm interested to see exactly how far they will go.
Yeah, got a lot of talent on that roster, no doubt. So those were some of Tuesday's games. Now back over the weekend, we had a bunch of county tournament titles were decided, Gene. It was that time of year. Had a bunch of county tournaments that we have every year. Lee County tournament, Saltillo's boys and Shannon's girls won the titles there. Over in Monroe, Aberdeen boys, Hamilton girls, Prentice County, Baldwin boys, and Boonville girls. Union County, Ingomar swept boys and girls. Any surprises there?
No, I'm glad to see Saltillo back. You know, they had problems early in the year with the melee or whatever happened in the stands, and they lost some players, but those kids are back now. And I think we got a big game later this week. I think we'll talk about.
Yep.
Saltillo plays at Oxford in a division game, and I think Craig Lauderdale, the coach, he really feels good about his team. He's got all his guys back. They're just now starting to play together again, probably a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
But winning the county tournament's got to help. And, that's I'm interested to see how far Saltillo will go. And I'm interested in to see how Saltillo and Oxford will come out.
Yeah, let's just roll into that. That was the next thing. Some big games coming up on Friday, and we'll just talk a little more about Saltillo and Oxford boys. That's a big Division II 5A game going to be played at Oxford. Saltillo, I'm trying to remember, Gene, it hadn't been that long since they were not that great. And when you thought about Lee County basketball, Shannon was probably the first team outside of Tupelo. Just talking about the county teams that came to mind.
Yeah, but I mean, Shannon's always going to be strong. They're strong now. They've just, we had them kind of ranked high, and they hosted Corinth a couple weeks ago and got beat like 15. But I still think Shannon's a team that can be one of those teams that can put you out or drop your seeding when it comes time for North State. Saltillo, Craig Lauderdale's doing a great job. They got the Smith guys up there, the brothers, and they're playing well. And you've just got to have, good competition. And when Craig lost some of his players, he dropped out of some of the tournaments because he didn't have he wanted the tournaments to have. They were trying to set up marquee games and everything. But they've got everybody back. I'm really interested to see how they fare.
Yeah, I want to know how they match up with Oxford, as we just talked about them. They got some big athletic guys like a Joyner and Metcalf. So that'll be kind of a true test for Saltillo. See how they do in that game. That's on Friday in Oxford. Might be worth going to if you're over that way. Another boys game worth checking out. Ingomar and Baldwin, a big 1-2A game.
Right. Ingomar was 1A up until this year. They're now Class 2A. So this brings back a good old Union County, Prentice County rivalry type game. I think it's going to be very competitive in the boys game. Ingomar's coming off that win in the tournament. Union County tournament beat a really good Myrtle team. Baldwin, I saw them play. I covered the Prentice County tournament this weekend. Baldwin's got some really good players. Connor McKay, kind of the glue that holds that team together.
Right.
And I think Raymond Craven's got a team that could possibly be a factor in 2A this year. And you never can count out Ingomar and Jonathan Ashley. And again, all these games, most divisions are only playing one game that counts, or just one game period against each other. It really doesn't matter, because what matters is how you do in the division tournament.
Right, exactly.
And it wouldn't surprise me if teams that lose in the regular season aren't the ones that win in the division tournament. Not that any coaches are pulling back, but they know the one they've got to win is in the division tournament.
Yeah, and it's just got some really you got some divisions where it's just very, very close between the teams. Got some high level of basketball being played there. Let's go to the girls. A couple of games to check out, Gene. Biggersville at Pine Grove in 1-1A. You were at the Biggersville game last night, weren't you?
They beat Jumpertown. They won the county tournament for only the second time in 27 years. A couple of weeks ago, the Alcorn County tournament. Cliff Little does a good job up there. He's got some really good players. They're just now. He said last week that this game against Pine Grove would be really big for them.
Yeah.
And of course, Katie Bates, the former Ripley coach, is at
Right.
Pine Grove.
Yeah.
She even took Pine Grove down to Jackson her first year at Pine Grove. So that's an interesting matchup and a key matchup in that division as far as seeding for the tournament.
Another one worth checking out in 1-3A, new site at Belmont.
Yeah, new site lost in the Prentice County Finals to a very good Boonville team. New site is having a wonderful year. Went down to Florida. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Ran off 3 straight. Won the small school division of that tournament in Destin, Florida. Belmont, they've lost, I think, their last 2 games. I don't know how they did last night, if they even played, but I'll tell you, they've beaten Ingomar this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Chris Higginbottom does a great job. He lost a lot of players off that state championship team last year, and but they're still a factor. And they'll have some say on how the seeding goes.
Yeah, they Belmont beat Kossuth last night, 65-60.
That was a big win.
And Kossuth, I mean, you look at that division. Kossuth is supposedly one of the quote weaker teams, I guess you would say, but 5-point game. I mean, that whole division is tough.
It is,
no weak link.
And it goes down to Alcorn Central, who's been in our ranking some this year.
Yeah,
they're playing well and they're beating some people, and that's going to be a really good tournament. I would imagine that you'll see Boonville and New Site probably at the top of the seedings.
Yeah,
when that tournament's played. But
let's look ahead to Saturday now. We got a big tournament. It's held every year in New Albany. It's the Hotbed Classic, Gene. And we had a little story today from Brandon Speck about this Alabama school, J.O. Johnson, coming over to play Columbus. That's going to be a good matchup right there. Maybe the premier matchup on it.
That's right. I know Brandon's covering that tournament, and he's talking about, he said, there's, even though the last 2 games don't feature teams from our area, it's going to be just great matchups, and he's planning on doing something kind of a second day coverage. He doesn't think those games will get over by a deadline.
No.
He is probably correct.
Yeah, the last one's scheduled for 8:45 between a team from South Carolina and a team from Arkansas. Let's go through the schedule real quick. Starts at 9 a.m., in New Albany. West Union, Smithville. We got some smaller schools kind of warming things up. East Union, Holka. Again, these are all boys' games. Ingomar, Morville, that could be a decent game.
It could be.
Myrtle against Quitman, getting into the afternoon session here. Center Hill against Mitchell, Tennessee. Then you got Pontotoc against Bolton, Tennessee. New Albany, the host, will play Lawrence County. You got Clinton against Pelham, Alabama. And then you get to the 2 big games scheduled to go off at 7:15 is Columbus against J.O. Johnson out of Alabama, followed by 22 Feet Academy from South Carolina taking on Southwest Christian Arkansas, scheduled for 8:45. So
I'll tell you, if you hadn't seen Robert Woodard, the second play, Columbus, that entire team, I saw part of their game down in Jackson Monday, and that's really an impressive team, and he's really an impressive player. And my wife saw him play, and she's not a judge of basketball talent, didn't know anything about him. She says, that Woodard kid can really play. And I went, yes, he can. I think he's like one of the top 10 rated guards in the country.
Nancy Phelps, basketball scout.
That's her. And usually she's playing on her phone at games, Woodard must have caught her eye, and she said, he's really good.
Yeah. Well, you got that's not the only thing going on. The Hotbed, it's a big tournament, but we have this Mid-Mississippi Challenge at Ackerman on Saturday. Got some local teams involved, Jim. What kind of stands out to you from that one?
Oh, well, what stands out is I'm going down to cover it, and I focus on girls basketball, and I didn't mean to hold the newspaper up in my face. I was looking at the lineup there. I need to cut some circle in here so you can see me, but just that. We've got all our really good area teams playing down there. You got West Union playing Velma Jackson. And the thing the coaches like about this is they're all getting to play. It's always north-south matchups, so you kind of get an idea of who you might see in the tournament, because all these teams in the South are good, and they all have good records too. Velma Jackson, I'm doing some research on that for a story I'm writing. I mean, all these teams have won at least 14, 15 games. Ingomar plays Newton. I believe, played in the championship game last year.
Yeah.
You've got Starkville girls playing. They're very good. Itawamba HS, they've lost their outside shooter to a knee injury, but they're still winning. They're like 14-3, 15-3. New Site girls, who we've talked about, they're playing Stephanie Murphy's team from Brandon, a 6A team.
Former Tupelo coach there.
You've got New Site. We'll really get a challenge there because Stephanie's team's like 16-3 or 16-2.
Okay.
And and these kind of games help you get ready. Maybe gives you a little preview if you're down there scouting some of the other teams that might be in your class, even if you aren't playing them. And just a really good day of basketball. And it finishes up that night with Biggersville playing Leake Central and Biggersville boys playing Choctaw County. And they're coached by Gary Beals, who's Iuka native.
Okay.
So
okay, a lot of good basketball going on this weekend. We'll have plenty of coverage in the Journal and at djournal.com.
Right.
Be sure to check that out. And check out the high school sports blog we have, nemispreps.com. That's NEMISSpreps.com. Quick football note. Jack Abraham, 2-time Daily Journal Offensive Player of the Year. People may recall he decommitted from Tulane. Actually, he had signed with Tulane, hadn't he?
No, he just committed.
The signing day is next month for him.
But they fired their coach.
They fired their coach. Got a new one. Didn't feel like the system was a good fit for him, so he backed out of the commitment and has now committed to play for Louisiana Tech. So he plans to sign with them next month on signing day. I
think a lot of people are missing out on Abraham, and I bring up there's the knock, I guess, is his size, his height. Drew Brees isn't tall.
No.
Doug Flutie's not tall.
Of course, those are exceptions.
Romero Miller wasn't tall.
True.
So I mean, if a guy can get the ball where it needs to be, I couldn't pass for the yardage Jack Abraham passed if there was nobody guarding the receivers.
He put up some video game numbers for for 3 years, so he's got tons of experience, and I think La Tech will be a good fit. That's a solid program down there. They've done pretty well in recent years. So anyway, Jack Abraham looking like he's going to go to La Tech. Okay, Gene, you got to finish up the show with our athletes of the week.
Well, it was kind of easy. We talked about Tyus Jennings. He scored 34 in the big game last night, so we'll give Tyus Jennings from Calhoun City.
Yep, Calhoun City had that big win over Oklahoma.
Yep, 86-84. And then another big moment last night, Allie Halton, our player of the year in girls soccer last year, set the state record for career goals with 234. She breaks the record of Amory's Addie Forbus, who's an Ole Miss soccer player now, doing really well for them. And Allie Halton, I believe, has already signed with Ole Miss, so they'll be teammates.
Yeah, she's from Lafayette High School.
But scored 5 goals in a game against Senatobia last night.
They won 6-0. Yeah, I think she needed 3 to break the record.
Yeah. 234 goals. Again, I couldn't score that if they had an open net.
Me either, Gene. Not a soccer person, no. But so congrats to our athletes of the week, Tyus Jennings and Allie Houghton from Calhoun City and Lafayette, respectively. And that is the show, my friends. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, if you're watching this but want to listen to it, check it out in iTunes or podcast app or at preprally.djournal.com. If you're listening to the podcast but want to watch it, go check the replay out at djournal.com. Send us an email, questions or comments, preprally@journalinc.com. That's journalinc.com. Gene, you're on Twitter at Gene Phelps. I'm on Twitter at Brad Locke. So that's it. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday. Until then, have a good one.